Hi, I'm Charles Linden, and I'm the developer of the Linden Method program. Over 12 years ago, I cured myself of my high anxiety conditions. Those were generalized anxiety disorder, panic disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, agoraphobia, depersonalization, derealization, and all of the physical symptoms that I experienced under those conditions. I cured myself using a process that I developed after trial and error, after talking to hundreds of recovered sufferers, and after putting together a process and refining that process until it worked. And it worked quickly. And to date, over 135,000 other sufferers have used my program to recover from their high anxiety conditions. So what I'm saying to you is that regardless of what you experience in your high anxiety condition, you can and will be cured. And the reason for that is very clear. The anxiety mechanism in humans is there to help us when real risk is present. Now obviously in anxiety disorders the real risk isn't always present, but that's because once the risk has been established and the anxiety has been established in your body and your mind work together to identify the physical symptoms that you're experiencing under your anxiety as the risk. In other words, your brain thinks that your churning stomach, racing heart, shallow breathing, fast breathing, shaking, sweating, achy legs, that all of these things, the anxiety symptoms, are the risk to respond to. And it responds to those risks with the flight or fight response. So your symptoms cause anxiety, cause symptoms, cause anxiety, and that is the anxiety feedback loop I'm talking about. Under normal circumstances, the body should respond to a risk by activating the fight or flight response. And once the risk has subsided, the anxiety reduces back to normal and you go back to your birth preset level of anxiety. But in anxiety disorders, that doesn't happen. And that's because people who have a predisposition to having high anxiety conditions also have something that I call creative intellect. Now, creative intellect is an intellect that has been given to you genetically, either by your parents or by other family members that came before you. And this genetic predisposition to developing a high anxiety condition is what is responsible for you having high anxiety. Creative intellect is normally used to do creative things. Now that could be creative writing, it could be artistic creativity, it could be creativity at various things, flower arranging or building houses. It doesn't matter how it manifests itself, and it doesn't mean that you have to have specific academic prowess. We're talking about creativity that can manifest in any way. If you have this, and if you experience a high anxiety catalyst that causes your initial burst of high anxiety, and your creative intellect takes over to create this feedback loop, the anxiety feedback loop, you will develop what is classically called an anxiety disorder. But I hate the term disorder, because disorder implies illness. You are not physically or mentally ill, regardless of what any doctor, psychologist, psychiatrist, or any other practitioner tells you. You are not mentally ill. You simply have a misfiring of a humanly given emotion, the emotion of fear. It's been elevated and perpetuated because of your creative intellect. And I can tell you, having helped over 135,000 people and having cured myself, if people follow the process outlined in the Linden Method program, they recover from their anxiety conditions, because it can't help but cure you. Because if you're human and you have high anxiety, this process has to happen to cure you. Every recovered sufferer in the world that has ever recovered from an anxiety disorder has to have followed this process. It's the only humanly possible recovery process. And when it's forced to work, like it is with my Linden Method program, it works every single time. There are people out there that have made natural recoveries from high anxiety conditions, and they say, oh, well, I was having CBT or NLP or hypnosis, or I was taking medication. No, those things weren't the catalyst for recovery. It may have been that for whatever reason, their life circumstances conspired to create an environment where the recovery process happened internally in your body, in their body rather. But that isn't because of the hypnosis or the CBT. It's because the process, the structured process that happens in your body to reduce anxiety happened because of life circumstances. What I'm trying to get across to you is that my program is a structured way of forcing that process to happen. It mimics the human body's natural anxiety recovery or reduction process. It has to be adhered to in order to work, but it is the only humanly possible anxiety recovery process. So the Linda Method program mimics the human body's own natural anxiety reduction process, and it forces your anxiety levels back down to your anxiety, to your to your birth preset. It's the only humanly possible recovery device. My program is the only program that has this structure that forces this to happen in this way. And that's why it works every single time if somebody uses it correctly.